This video contains potential spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home. So if you don't want to know anything about that movie, please click away from this video right now. So Lego has done it again, spoiling movies before the trailers even release. Just today, we have seen pictures of 3 Spider-Man No Way Home Lego sets. Now, they're kind of interesting because 2 of them aren't really labeled as No Way Home sets, but I suspect that there is something going on. So we will investigate into these sets a little bit for a little bit of a No Way Home early plot speculation in another episode of So there are 3 No Way Home sets that were advertised today. And the first one is named Spider-Man at the Sanctum Workshop. So it contains Spider-Man, MJ, Doctor Strange, and Wang. I think none of them except Wang are really surprise characters because we knew that Doctor Strange was going to be in the Spider-Man movie. I think a couple of things to point out in this set is first that Spider-Man seems to have a brand new suit with a golden label, and you can see that on the toy packaging too. Another thing is that the enemy that they're fighting in the set, the Lego official website calls it a bug creature, but I have a feeling that what if it's a character that is going to appear in No Way Home? Because this thing looks so much like a scorpion. I'm thinking, what if it's actually the Scorpion character from No Way Home? Because he was teased all the way back in Homecoming. And I think it's only logical that he wants to fight Spider-Man, after Spider-Man's identity is revealed, because Scorpion wanted to kill Spider-Man at the end of Homecoming. He asked Vulture, do you know his real name? And now that he knows, I think it's logical that he comes to Spider-Man's hiding spot, which is probably the Sanctum Sanctorum, to take revenge on him.
That's definitely a Scorpion. It's hard to read that any other way. And it would be a little odd, given everything we've already seen up to this point, for them to introduce another green, armored arachnid type, animal themed villain that were not the Scorpion. So yeah, I'm gonna say that's that it looks like a Scorpion, it walks like a Scorpion, it's probably a Scorpion.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna second that. Partially because part of me is also just really excited to see Spider-Man get involved in this sort of otherworldly, usually Doctor Strange territory stuff. So
I personally think it's Scorpion. I agree with Professor Carnes and Olivia. And the only thing is Lego does not have the best track record when it comes to producing sets that are accurate to the movie. Back in 2016's Doctor Strange, they actually made another version of the Sanctum Sanctorum, which had a tentacle monster in the set for the movie. Now, a lot of people thought Shamberger is going to show up in the movie. And it turned out it was just a tentacle monster that was basically nobody in the movie. In Endgame sets, they actually had a Hulkbuster for War Machine. They called it the War Machine Buster. And everybody thought War Machine's going to suit up in a Hulkbuster suit of armor. Then he just never appears in the movie. And that was disappointing. So I would say it could just be something that they put in the sets to be like an enemy that kids can play with without giving too much spoiler. But I kind of also think it makes a lot of sense for this to be Scorpion. And I think the scene that this is trying to portray is probably at the very beginning of the movie. I would assume this happens right after Far From Home. Spider-Man's identity gets revealed. He escapes to the Sanctum Sanctorum with Ned and MJ. Probably Mysterio has framed them too, or like the bad guys are after them. And Scorpion leads a group of criminals to attack the Sanctum Sanctorum in his high-tech suit, and that's how the scene's gonna go. So the more interesting ones are the other 2 sets that we're seeing. So the first set that they have is a Spider-Man versus Mysterio set. So when I first saw this, I was really surprised. I was like, wait, Mysterio's coming back in the movie, which I suspected, until I saw a little golden circle on the top of the box that says inspired by Spider-Man Far From Home. So do we think this is actually a No Way Home scene? Is Mysterio back, or is he just dead and this is just a way to sell toys?
Honestly, I'd really like for Mysterio to be back, but I do kind of think it's just to sell toys, just because of the golden sticker. I feel like they wouldn't bother to put the sticker on there if not.
From a graphic design standpoint, though, you could just slap that on the image of the box and then remove it later. And, they really have given away a key plot point, which is Mysterio isn't dead. And that wouldn't be terribly surprising, right? I mean, Mysterio sort of expires kind of off camera, and there's some action after his death that involves him I think it's, and I think what a disappointment it would be for Mysterio to be one and done before we have a Sinister Six movie. So I'm going to vote that these are just straight out of the film, and that there's nothing more to it than that.
I have a feeling that, so the sticker, I originally thought it probably kills our hope for Mysterio to return to the movie. But then I was reminded of some of the other toy companies that did this. So when Endgame came out, Hasbro actually released a line of toys that actually included characters that passed at the end of Infinity War. So you got Spider-Man and you got Black Panther. But because they're afraid of doing spoilers, and of course everyone's going to get really mad at them, so they did a little circle thing that they said inspired by, Avengers Infinity War or other Marvel Studios movies. I think that if they wanted to do something related to Far From Home, they would have just painted a box of Far From Home box. It's not that Lego has no money to do graphic designs.
Right.
And I don't think they need the No Way Home label to sell more toys. So I think this is a hint that Mysterio is coming back. My only doubt is that Nick Fury is also in the set. That means he also has to come back. And he's such a major character that I think we should have heard something by now if he's coming back. But I agree. I think Mysterio is on the table.
Yeah, I'm just skeptical that, Marvel Studios, when they enter these partnerships with Lego, they have to be pretty strategic about what they include, and it's supposed to generate synergies. It's supposed to, promote the toy and the movie simultaneously. And so I just have a hard time imagining that there's any kind of, wasted content in these boxes. I have a hard time imagining they would make a Spider-Man No Way Home Mysterio set if Mysterio weren't in the film. Why do that? Why not make one that's actually related to the film? So because that's the amount of space for Legos on the shelf at any store is finite. They don't want to take up part of their Marvel section with content that's not going to be sort of optimal in terms of hyping the film. So
honestly, I'd probably have to, it's been a while since I've seen Far From Home, so I'd probably have to rewatch it to say for sure. Honestly, I think in my gut, I usually don't like to perpetuate the idea that it's fine to have this like revolving door of like death where characters keep coming back to life. But I think given the fact that Mysterio's actions post his death have had such a large consequence for Spider-Man and all those surrounding him, I think it'd be appropriate to bring him back. It's also very possible that Mysterio could be in the film in like not necessarily a direct capacity. It could be a flashback or something. So they don't necessarily have to bring the character back to life, but it'd be cool if they did.
I think a cool way for Mysterio to come back is for Quentin Beck, the person, to remain dead. Because as we know from Far From Home, most of Mysterio is actually just an illusion casted by the drones. So essentially part of him are the drones. And we know that at the end of Far From Home, William from Mysterio's team actually downloaded part of the file. Now we could say that's the incriminating file that revealed who Peter Parker was, but I think maybe there's also a file containing some Mysterio footage. So Jake Gyllenhaal can still come back as the character, but he's just like kind of a ghost where the drones are going to become the new Mysterio. They're going to come in and try to trick Spider-Man in battles. And that's going to be a much more scary enemy because there is no longer a physical guy there for Peter to fight. And it's like a ghost of Quentin Beck hunting him, kind of like, misinformation stays with us, like lingers there forever.
That's brilliant. I hope that's the story. I think that's a wonderful artistic move.
That's great. Just no ghost in the machine type of, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy with the Jake Gyllenhaal voice too, like, Peter, I'm back.
Well, and how do you defeat that? I mean, that's a really complicated challenge. Mysterio is sort of hard enough for Peter Parker to tackle, but now a totally disembodied Mysterio that's just an image projected over drones forever. It's almost an interesting storytelling problem in and of itself, I think, to come up with, okay, how do we bring this character back in a way that's original, in a way that's interesting? And here you just did this brilliant move that I think illustrates like what makes this a fun storytelling challenge. Like, okay, how do you bring a character back when they're dead, and make it fresh and make it original and not just seem like cheap.
So last but not least, so this is a set that apparently features the Vulture. And I think that's really interesting because I think we've always wanted the Vulture to come back in Spider-Man. And it feels like it makes sense for this character to come back. Now, the golden sticker says it's inspired by Homecoming, but this one's different from the Far From Home one because we actually have a brand new suit for Spider-Man. and we have a brand new vehicle for him to be in. I feel like the vehicle is probably not going to be in the movie, but I feel like the suit is going to be in the movie. So I wanted to first talk about, before talking about the Vulture, like, what is this suit?
I'm really impressed with the rate at which we're cycling through classic Spider-Man suits here. I mean, the original suit, the Iron Spider suit, the spectacular Spider-Man suit, which is personally probably my favorite.
And then what's this one with the sort of gold, black and gold embellishment?
This suit actually reminds me of the anti-Ox suit from the Spider-Man Insomniac PS4 game. And we know that Dr. Octopus, played by Alfred Molina, is going to show up in the movie. And I think that Doctor is probably going to be able to fight Dr. Octopus. And a crazy idea that I have is that this suit actually looks very similar to Iron Man Mark 41, which is a suit from Iron Man 3 that can actually come apart. And the different parts of the body can attack the enemies when, Tony is far away. So I think the way this anti-Ox suit is going to work is that Spider-Man can control it like there's a sentry mode, essentially like the Age of Ultron Mark 43, where Peter can operate the suit while being outside of it. And the suit can come apart. And because Doc Ock has like a lot of tentacles, maybe this suit can stabilize the tentacles and actually help Peter have extra hands to deal with Dr. Octopus. But I think it actually makes a lot of sense for Vulture to come back. He's deeply affiliated with Scorpion. Who knows what he's going to do to Peter or with Peter when Peter's identity gets revealed, because Peter did save his life and save his daughter's life. So maybe he's grateful to Peter. And I think given the multiverse and given that Morbius now comes after No Way Home, there might be some kind of portal that transports Vulture into that Morbius universe, which explains his appearance at the end of that trailer.
I really want the Sinister Six, man. That's really what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. I'm 100% there for that. I'm there for the crossover that brings all the Sony characters in. And I'm really excited about the Sony villain universe too, whether that sort of is a branch off of the MCU continuity or whether it's, somehow coincides with the MCU.
So based on what we have seen, I wanted to lock in some early theories for No Way Home.
I think I will lock in out of pure wishful hope that there's going to be a live action version of Miles Morales in the movie.
Ooh. That's a bold prediction, Olivia.
It is.
Okay, I'll make a radical prediction. That is, I really want them to introduce some of the characters that actually drive the Spider-Verse in the comics. Like I really want Madam Web to be a character. I really want to see some of these characters that are associated with the Dan Slott Spider-Verse run. And we did see sort of the web of reality in the Spider-Verse. It'd be cool. So I'm going to lock in. We're going to see the web of reality in No Way Home.
I'm going to lock in a couple of things. The first theory I'm locking in is I think Vulture Mysterio will return in some extent. And I'm going to go so far as to say that I think Mysterio will return via the drones. So the whole ghost Mysterio idea, I'm going to lock that in. It's more like a wish list, but I think it doesn't hurt to lock it in. The second theory I'm going to lock in is that I think that Scorpion-like character in the Sanctum Sanctorum set is actually the Scorpion. I'm going to go ahead and lock in that gold Spider-Man suit, I think, is going to be inspired by Mark 41. We're going to see some Iron Man functions on the Spider-Man suit. And I think it will be designed specifically to fight one of the Sinister Six. And it also continues with the tradition that some people don't like of Spider-Man kind of inheriting Iron Man's suits and technology and turning into his own.
I'll never understand why people don't like that.
I feel like a lot of the issue with the Tony Peter thing is people take issue with that it takes away from sort of Peter Parker's original origin story to have him be mentored by a billionaire, which is something that I kind of agree with. But I think given the fact that the whole purpose of the MCU is to take certain liberties in the adaptation, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
No. As well within the variation in Marvel's story. Not about Spider-Man, but when you look at the Spider-Verse event in the comics, there's huge variation in Spider-Man. And it's really, really cool and rewarding to see all these different versions. So I actually like that the MCU Spider-Man doesn't do what the 3 Sony Spider-Man adaptations did, which is just stick right with the original Spider-Man story. I actually like that.
Harry's whole ghost in the machine theory about Mysterio specifically, that his body is dead, but there's some sort of mechanical reflection. I just really want that to happen now. It's a great idea.
Yeah, I'll sign on to that one too as an endorsement. It's such a brilliant way to bring him back. You know, the Lego kit does have drones in it, sort of hinting at, you know, we're going to see those drones return. And it's just the perfect way to restore Mysterio and still leave us wondering, like, is he really alive? You know, I want to think about I'll make a prediction about the role of Nick Fury. So I do think we're going to get Nick Fury in this film. He was so tight with Spider-Man, or he was so connected to the Spider-Man story in, you know, the second film, kind of the first film, you know, in the Stinger, but definitely in the second film. He plays a major role in Spider-Man's development. I think he's going to come back and he's going to clarify. That's what I say. Is this is the film where that'll be my prediction. This is where we're going to find out that Nick Fury was a Skrull. And he's going to go sort of sort out the Nick Fury is a Skrull thing and sort of debrief everybody on what was going on during the events of Far From Home.
So as more No Way Home information, trailers come out, of course, we'll do more speculations on the No Way Home movie and to see how right we are when the film comes out this Christmas season. So thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Different Theories. You can support us by liking and subscribing and also commenting down below into what you think will happen in Spider-Man No Way Home. That will be all for today. We'll see you next week in another episode of Different Theories.